Now, as you know, my classical example is always the drinking cup. And if you see how we started with a drinking cup, which is hollow to contain, hollow to contain, you go to flat to stabilize. And if I go back to hollow to contain, the classical approaches of AI were always subject, action, object. The horn contains the beer. Subject, action, object. But there, you don't really go across domains. You don't really learn anything because it's very hard to say, okay, you have the subject and the action and the object. But the essence of the innovation here is that why can the horn contain the beer? Because it's hollow. So hollow contains is what we keep, and the rest we forget. And then we say flat, evolved it in time to stabilize. And over time, we've looked at transparency to inspect, and so on. Then it can branch out and say, actually, you can make something hollow to contain, but you can also make something hollow to insulate. Or if you want to insulate with a different property, you can add a foot. You say footed to insulate. Or you can say, for example, if you want to hold it better, you could do it with an ear or with ripped glass here or surface here to hold. And so you see all the time, you have basically those properties in light blue that connect yourself with these functions in darker blue boxes. And of course, then you can start combining and say it evolves with hollow and ear, and you have this one. Or you have hollow plus ripped, and you got this one. And all these products kind of hit the market at a certain time, where ultimately you could say combine all these together and you get a new version of all these and you create that. But the beauty here is it's a language model. You basically use a few of these adjectives and you put them in front of you now. And then you can create basically a kind of DNA, you could almost say, like what are all the adjectives you're playing with to connect to what are all the functions. So hollow to contain, but also hollow to insulate. And where you have ripped to insulate, also ripped to hold. So there's variations there. Or if you have insulation, it can be from hollow, but it can also be from ripped. Again, different variations like that. Now, if you combine that with a visual here, where you can see on the left side properties, which are basically the science behind things, things which are transparent or shape science or porosity or and so on, you can connect them with the technologies of saying inspecting technologies or insulation or containing or anything. You see, that's what they have done. But if you have a wider range of properties which you have in the system which you haven't touched yet, you could say, hey, there is more things to be done. And we've only looked at that to create this. But what if we start to work with flexibility or integration or pulsation of state? Where could we gain some more functions here, like self-cooling or anything like that? So basically, it's that kind of variation. And now, knowing that it is adjectives in front of drinking cup, I can easily go to a data source, be it the patent database, of course, is the one we use, but you could use any kind of data source, and ask, show me all the variations of drinking cups by saying, show me all the adjectives in front of drinking cup, which gives you basically all the properties in front, being disposable, intelligent, multifunctional, novel, portable, and so on. Now, this is a big mix of things. And the advantage of using AI here is that from that, you can go to organize it into your directions. So here, it's a big mix. Here, it's what we know. It's like flexibility. This means collapsible, foldable, stackable, storable, nestable, and so on, telescopic, retractable. So they kind of classify in what you could look at as principles, flexibility, or trends, dynamization, or just the direction of a property spectrum, everything which has to do with flexibility. So that's very helpful now with LLMs, because you take your data from very curated hardcore patterns, but then you use the LLM to classify it into the directions that you can see where you can still innovate or where you haven't.